Hey guys, tonight we slip into a warm, dark bazaar where the lamps sway like sleepy fireflies and the air smells like a garden that never goes to bed. You move past silk stoles and cumin baskets, and you feel it already. Rose, smoke, and sandalwood wrapping around your breath. It's cozy, it's crowded, and it's a bit wild. Also, you probably won't survive this, at least not awake. The plan is that you knock out long before we reach the last drop. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Please tell me where you are watching from, and what time it is right now. I love seeing the map come to life. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You turn down a narrow lane where brass lamps stain the dust gold. You pass a tea stall, the kettle size. A boy hums a tune you don't know, but you hum along anyway. Your steps are slow. The scent gets richer, like someone painted the air. You find a small doorway, a wooden sign sways above it. The letters curl like vines. Inside, a bell chimes low. You step into a pocket of soft shadow and glass. Bottles line the walls. Clear, green, amber. Stoppers wink. Each one shines like a small moon. You stand very still. You feel a hush. Not a scary hush. A happy one. Like everyone is listening to the same quiet song. A clay lamp flickers. The flame makes tiny waves on the ceiling. Somewhere behind a curtain, water murmurs. There is a pot, a coil, and something warm at work. You feel your nose getting a promotion. Tonight, it runs the show. A man in a cotton vest nods. His beard looks like a tidy cloud. He holds a brass tray in both hands, the way you might offer a gift. Welcome, he says, and his voice is a kind nap. He sets the tray down on a low table. Two small scales sit there, neat and patient. A thin beam. Brass pans, little weights like sleeping beetles. The scales don't move. They wait. In here, scent is weighed like a coin. You lean in. The table smells faintly of rose. Not bright rose. Deep rose. Like the memory of a garden on your sleeve. He unstoppers a bottle and waves the neck. Not too close. One breath and the room changes. You smell damask roses. Dew. A hint of pepper. It feels like dawn on your skin. He smiles at your face. You are already gone. Classic. He dabs a drop on a strip, then another on your wrist. You hold still. You try not to blink too hard. You try very hard not to sneeze. A sneeze here would be a floral earthquake. He sets the bottle down and points to the scales. The pans glint. We weigh, he says, because we respect the work. You nod because you feel that in your bones. Somewhere outside, a cart rolls by. Bells shake. The sound is soft, like a herd of tiny cows. You breathe again. The rose warms on your skin. It opens up, slow and round. It stops trying to impress and sits there, calm and sure. You know this is an old craft. Mughal old, court old. You remember a simple fact from school. The Mughal emperors loved perfume. They filled fountains with rose water at festival. They kept workshops, karkhanas, where perfumers worked for the court. That's not a legend. That happened. The perfumer sees you thinking. He taps the glass shelf with one clean nail. Stories, he says. You want one. You nod. He tells you about an empress who noticed a shimmer of oil on rose water and set out to cool. People say she skimmed the oil and found attar of roses. He shrugs, but he is smiling. Historians still argue whether Nur Jahan truly discovered that film of oil, or whether the trick lived in older kitchens and texts long before. You picture a bowl on a windowsill. A slight breeze. A silver spoon. It feels real enough to you. He hands you another strip. This one smells like rain on warm ground. You blink. It smells like the first storm in summer. Like the road exhaling. He laughs. Mitti, he says. Earth. Your brain throws up a tiny sign that reads, how? He tells you they bake clay, crush it, and coax out the scent. It sits in oil and waits. Then it smells like wet mud and monsoon and safe porches. It's a quirky trick. Some say it started as a joke between friends and then stuck around for good. You grin. Of course it did. Someone coughs behind the curtain. The pot huffs. You hear a slow drip. The perfumer lowers his voice. Not too hot, he says, or the scent runs away. You file that away for later. Tonight is not a rush. You look at the ceiling. You let your breath match the drip. The room smells of rose, earth, and something creamy. You point. Sandalwood, he says. The base. The quiet friend who holds everything steady. You rub your wrist and feel the oil soak in, thin and smooth. Your skin smiles back. He pulls out a cloth roll. Inside are weights, each marked with a number. You notice a tiny red seed resting near the pans. He sees your eye catch it. He covers it with his palm and winks. Tomorrow, he says. You get the hint. Not yet. Tonight, you learn how to stand in the middle of scent and not tip over. You can do that. Also, gentle reminder, your phone is not here to help. Face ID would fail. It would smell your wrist and unlock the door to your dreams instead. A couple enters. They speak in low voices. The woman asks for gulab. The man asks for something incredible for the heat. The perfumer nods. He makes 2 tiny blends in tiny cups. He moves like a calligrapher. He is careful, but relaxed. You watch him weigh a drop the way a banker counts coins. A grain too much, and the scale tips. A grain too little, and the scent feels thin. You learn a little rule without being told. Patience is not slow. Patience is exact. He tells you about fans woven from vetiver roots hung in palace windows. Water dripped over them. The breeze went through and came out cool and green. That is a true thing from court life. Smart plants meet hot days. You can almost feel that breath now. A nifty draft slips by and brings the room into focus. The lamp flame steadies. Your shoulders drop. You ask how old this shop is. He says the craft here is older than the wooden door, older than the lane, older than anyone in the market. He mentions a city not far away where this work never stopped, even when new things came in shiny bottles. You know the name. It rhymes with patience and smoke and rivers. He doesn't say more. He doesn't need to. He pours tea. It tastes like dust and sugar and kindness. He spoons a single drop of rose water into your cup. It's not sweet, but it makes the tea feel gentle. You sip and watch the scales on the table. You watch the bottles blink at you. You watch your own breath go in and out like a tide. You think about how strange it is to weigh a smell. Then it makes sense. You weigh because scent is work. You weigh because petals are ours. You weigh because the nose forgets, but numbers remember. You set the cup down and close your eyes. For a second, the room falls away. You stand in a garden at night. A straight path, a line of lamps, a pool reflecting stars. Somewhere, a woman laughs. Somewhere, a book page turns. Somewhere, a record keeper writes down 2 tolas spent on rose, 1 on sandalwood, and 1 on vetiver. The page dries. The ink may be faintly scented. That part may be just your mind playing. It's okay. Bedtime lets you play. You open your eyes. The perfumer is wrapping 2 vials in paper. He looks up and nods again. There's no sales pitch. No rush. Just the slow math of scent. You could stay here for hours. You might. Or you might fall asleep right here with a strip of rose under your nose, like a very fancy bookmark. 2 more drops whisper from the room behind. The night takes a step closer, soft and friendly, and waits with you. He slides the curtain and waves you in. The back table waits. The brass beam rests like a quiet seesaw. You feel the air change. It is still here. The lamp is lower. The shadow of the beam draws a thin line on the wall. You step close and smell metal, rose, and a tiny hint of smoke. He opens the cloth roll. Small weights blink in the lamplight. He lifts 1 weight with 2 fingers. He sets it down in the left pan. Clink. The beam dips, then settles. Your breath tries to help. It blows the beam a hair. He smiles and holds up 1 palm. Slight pause. You smile back. Got it. No gusts. Your breath is a leaf blower for ants, and the ants are not amused. He brings out a small wooden box. Inside, a neat bed of red and black seeds. They look like candy, tiny, shiny beads. Rattī, he says. He lets 1 roll into your palm. It is smooth and hard. Cold. He turns your hand so the seed glows. We weigh with these, he says. He points to a number on a scrap of paper. 96. 96 seeds are 1 tola. You nod. The math is easy. The beam will tell you the truth anyway. He pours the seeds into the right pan, 1 at a time. Tap, tap, tap. Each tap is a tiny drum. The beam moves, then comes back. You can almost hear it think. You want to lean close. You stop. You do not blow on the beam. You tuck your hands to your sides. You learn fast. The perfumer taps the beam with a feather, light touch. Sensitive, he says. He laughs at your face. You did not know a feather could be a tool. He hands you the feather. You enjoy the drama of it. You can do it gently. Your hands try to do jazz hands. You tell them to sit. They listen for once. He opens another bottle. The air turns creamy and soft. Sandalwood again. You feel your shoulders drop. Base oil, he says. We weigh this for blends. He brings a stopper with a thin glass stem. You watch him hold the stem above the pan. The drop falls and lands in a small metal cup. Another drop. You count them. He does not count. He looks at the beam. The beam blinks back. You ask what a tola feels like. He holds up a round weight the size of a big coin. About this, he says. A bit more than 11 grams. He sets it in your palm. It is warm and heavy for its size. You think of coins. You think of trade. You think of this small disc holding the price of a tiny bottle. 1 tola of scent is not much to look at, but it is hours and days and fields. It is hands and heat and sleep lost to dawn. He takes the rattī seeds out again. He tells you the plant. A bright creeper. Red seed with a black eye. He lowers his voice. Do not eat, he says. Poison. You look at the seeds like they just told a bad joke. He nods. Goldsmiths use them too. Healers use them for herbs. Safe to touch. Not a snack. You promise not to snack on the weights. He nods, pleased. He shows you a ledger. The page is neat. Columns for oil, for seeds, for price. A line for today. Names. A number for the heat of the fire once it starts. You see a tiny mark like a fan. That means a breeze. Another means rain. He tells you they weigh when the air is calm. Dawn is best. Night can work too. He smiles and rolls a shoulder. Some people even swear a full moon makes oil quiet. You raise an eyebrow. He grins. He likes the myth, even if it is just a mood. Mood is part of the job. He points to the weights again. This, he says, touching the tola. This helps keep us fair. He tells you a simple fact from the old days. There was a market officer who checked the scales. The job was to keep trade honest. You picture a stern person who loves numbers and hates cheats. You respect that. You also respect how the seed in your hand can outvote your nose on a busy day. He shows you a small trick. He places 1 rattī seed in the pan with the cup of oil. The beam tilts, then steadies. He waves the neck of a bottle near your wrist. You breathe. Soft rose again. He puts 1 drop of rose into the cup. The beam dips the slightest bit. Drops are not equal, he says. Warm day. Thick oil. Every mix changes weight. You watch the numbers help the nose. That is the art. That is the point. Numbers tame petals. Numbers tame price. He picks up a brass weight with a tiny scratch across its face. Mark, he says. He made that mark. He wants to spot his weight if someone swaps it. It happens. Markets are markets. He smiles without worry. He trusts the beam more than he trusts chatter. He trusts habit most of all. He slides a small slip your way. On it, he has written a few simple lines. 1 rattī is light. 8 rattīs make 1 mosha. 12 moshas make 1 tola. He keeps it easy. He taps each line. He does not make a speech. He shows you the real thing. You try stacking seeds in groups. The beam nods when you do it right. That nod feels good. It feels like a high five from a calm friend. You ask where these measures came from. He leans on the table. He tells you old stories, older than the lane. Traders used seeds. Kings made rules. A court book from Akbar's time recorded weights and measures, allowing people to match them. Historians still debate whether the tola we use today originated directly from those court rules or from even older village traditions that the court adopted. You like both options. You want the seed and the book to share the job. Outside, a cart rattles past. Bells again. The beam does not flinch. You love that. You can't help it. This little line of metal is brave. He catches your grin. He lets you add 1 seed, then 1 drop. The beam creeps, then settles. You hold your breath without trying now. You have learned the room. He brings out a tray of rose petals. Fresh. Cold. He piles them in the other pan. It makes no sense at first. The petals are mountain soft. The weight is almost nothing. But the pile looks like a cloud. He lets you look. Then he sweeps them back into the tray. This is why we count, he says. So many flowers. So little oil. You nod. You feel it in your chest. Heavy price. Light result. Craft lives in that gap. He shows you a tiny pouch. Inside, a pinch of dark dust. Oud chips are ground into powder. He weighs a breath of it. A breath is enough to tilt the beam. That is funny. That is also power. He tells you how a whisper of oud can warm a rose. He tells you not to sneeze. You both laugh. You remember the floral earthquake from earlier. You stay ready just in case. He closes the wooden box of seeds. He runs a cloth over the beam. He folds the cloth roll of weights. He tucks them away like he is putting a child to bed. He writes one more line in the ledger. The ink glows a little in the lamplight. The room smells steady. You feel the calm of good tools in good order. He nods toward the door. Before sunrise, he says, we go. You picture fields. Dew. Cold air. You picture many hands moving as one. You picture the quiet math of baskets and bags. For now, the night holds you. The beam rests. The seeds sleep. Your own breath keeps the same slow pace as the lamp flame. You think about the neat set of numbers hiding under all that scent. You like that very much. Math turns soft here. It turns kind. 3 more drops fall behind the curtain. The cup rings once, like a tiny bell underwater. You feel ready. Not to run. To keep watch. To weigh the quiet and pass it on. You step into the lane before dawn. The sky is deep blue. The stars fade like shy guests. Your sandals scuff soft dust. The city yawns. A sleepy dog blinks at you and decides you are not a snack. Good choice. You and the perfumer walk past shut shops. A pot clinks somewhere. A rooster coughs like it forgot how to crow. You move toward the fields. The air grows cool and damp. You rub your hands. Dew nips your fingers. It feels clean. It smells like night getting washed. A cart waits at the edge of the road. 2 baskets rest on it, big, shallow, woven trays. A girl ties a scarf over her hair. She smiles. She has a thorn scratch on one of her thumbs. She lifts a basket and nods at you. Time to work. You step into rows of low bushes. Each bush is round and neat. Each one holds stars of pale pink. The petals glow even in the dim. Dew beads hang on them like tiny glass. Your socks take a step and turn into small ponds. You consider this a spa treatment for toes. For free. Luxury. The perfumer shows you the move. Thumb under the bloom. Twist. Soft pull. Drop. No squeeze. Do not bruise. Do not crush. You try it. The flower drops and makes a hush in the basket. You try again. A thorn taps your knuckle. It is a little note. It says, slower. You nod like you meant to do that. You did not. The bush knows. People spread out. Faces glow with first light. A boy hums a song about rain. A woman tells a joke about goats. You do not get the punchline. You laugh anyway. It fits. The whole field sounds friendly. The gossip starts. You learn 3 new things. A cousin gets married next week. Sandalwood price went up again. A cow had a calf with a spot like a heart. All this lands in your ears while the roses land in your basket. You are basically a bee with thumbs. Busy, focused, slightly proud. You think of the shop. You think of the beam and the seeds. They sleep now. The only measure here is feel. Hands move fast. Hands know how many blooms make a bundle. No one counts out loud. It is a rhythm. The sun is not up yet. That is the rule. Roses give the most before the heat. The oil hides in the cool. It rises with the light. So you must be here now. Your fingers smell sweet. Your palms smell green. You wipe them on your scarf. The scarf says, no thanks, I prefer dust. You keep at it. A small shrine sits at one edge of the field, just a stone on a brick. Someone has set a marigold there. When her basket fills for the first time, a picker walks over. She lifts one handful of petals and places them by the stone. No one claps. No one speaks. It is simple. It is hers. A quiet, quirky habit. You like it. It feels right. A thank you to the field. You ask about the roses. The perfumer bends and shows you a leaf. He tells you the name people use here, gulab. He says the plant came on old roads. He mentions an emperor who wrote about rose gardens and rose water in his book. You know the name now, Jahangir. He loved scent. That is a steady fact. He counted roses like other kings counted coins. You look at the bushes again. The mix of rumor and record is warm. However, historians still debate whether this damask rose originated with the Mughals from Persian lands or if older gardens in the region already had a similar variety. You shrug inside. You like both roads. You want a flower to travel and still keep its soul. Your basket grows heavy. Not heavy like grain. Heavy like a cloud after a long day of shade. You tilt it and watch petals slide. They make a soft slur. It is like a tiny pink landslide. You tell yourself not to giggle. You giggle anyway. A boy with a cloth bag moves along the line. He drapes a damp cloth over the baskets to keep them cool. Smart move. He checks for twigs. He removes a stem that could poke. He flicks an ant back to the bush. Back to work, he whispers. The ant obeys. Or it just falls. One woman wears a leaf by her ear. Basil. She says bees skip her. You nod. You decide not to test this. You like bees. You also like not being a bee snack. You pick on. The field wakes up. The light turns silver, then pale gold. A kite calls from a tree. Smoke rises from a hut. Someone laughs. You hear a splash from the well. A rope creaks. A pot comes up. People drink. You drink. The water is cold enough to make your teeth think about moving to a warmer mouth. You drop more blooms. Twist. Pull. Drop. The move settles in your hands. They remember even if your head wanders. You drift and think about court gardens. Straight paths. Water channels. Square beds. Maybe these roses once grew inside those walls. Maybe workers walked at dawn in silence under arches. Maybe they told the same jokes about goats. People repeat jokes. It is a thing. The perfumer checks the time with the sky. He claps once. Enough, he says. The sun is close now. Warmth slides over your arms. You feel the smell change. It gets louder, then thinner. It floats away. The field has a built-in timer. No battery needed. You follow the others to the cart. Baskets empty into big sacks. The sacks look like sleeping geese. They breathe when you pat them. Well, they move. But still. You lift one side and help. The weight is tricky. Petals are light, but there are many. Your knees write a memo. It says, "We exist." You sign the memo with a groan. Nice. Someone ties the sacks with a soft rope. He checks the knot twice. He pats each sack like a friend. The cart creaks. Two boys hop up and sit on the edge. They guard the load as if it were a mountain of coins. In this world, it is. You walk back on the dirt path. The road smells of dust, milk, and warm bread. A woman walks past with a stack of flat loaves on her head. You smile. She does not spill even one. You try to look cool. You fail at once. A thorn in your sleeve waves, as if to say, "Nice try." You let it have the last word. At the edge of the lane, the perfumer stops. He looks at your hands. He nods. He wipes your fingers with rose water. He says it helps keep the skin soft. He hands you a tiny cloth bag. Inside is a pinch of sugar and a seed. Rattī. A reminder. Scales weight. You grin. You feel the day pull you forward. You hear the city again. The dog now thinks about breakfast. The tea stall hisses. A bike bell rings. You step back into the market with the field still on your skin. You smell green. You smell pink. You smell cool earth. You carry the morning like a secret. You share one last joke with the pickers. You promise to come back. You mean it. You have a new respect for fast hands and slow voices. For dew. For thorns that keep you humble. For baskets that look like simple straw but carry a feast for the nose. You follow the sacks down the lane. The workshop door waits. The lamp inside makes a little halo on the floor. You step in, as the first real sunlight tips the tops of the roofs, and the roses sigh as if they know they are home. The sacks breathe out a soft, rosy fog as they land on the floor. The copper pot waits like a sleeping drum. You touch the rim. It feels cool and has a slight dent. It has worked hard. It knows what to do even when you don't. The perfumer lifts the lid. A round copper cap. He sets it aside with care, just as you would a full teacup. Petals go in by the armful. They pour like pink rain. You help, slow and careful. The pile settles and blooms again. He adds cool water from a brass lotus. The water darkens. The room swells with scent. You think of dawn fields and thorn scratches. You think of the scale and a single rattī seed. All that calm math led to this mountain. He passes you a small cup. Sandalwood, he says. You know that voice now. You nod. He measures the base oil for the receiver. He does not count drops. He looks at the oil and the light. He looks at you too, like he is letting you in on a trick. The receiver is a round glass belly. It shines like a clear gourd. He tilts the sandalwood in. The oil makes a gold lens at the bottom. You feel a silly urge to stir. You do not. Stirring is for soup. This is patience in a bottle. He sets the glass in a shallow trough of water. The water laps the sides. A boy adds a wet cloth over the glass to keep it cool. He will add more water repeatedly. Cold is the key to this part. Hot steam meets cool glass. It turns back to water and carries scent down to the oil. Easy to say, wild to watch. The copper lid goes on the pot. A bamboo tube waits. It is the quiet bridge between heat and cool. One end fits the top of the pot, the other slips into the mouth of the glass. The perfumer smears a rope of wet clay around every seam. He presses it with his thumbs. He adds a few cotton threads to help it grip. He works fast, but not roughly. You learn this. Speed can be soft. You are handed a bowl of clay. It smells like rain before rain. You smear a seam. You laugh at yourself. You now hold a degree in mud pie engineering. You smooth the edge with a thumb. The perfumer checks and nods. You glow like a small lamp. He lights the fire. Dry sticks, dung cakes, a small, patient flame. The pot warms. The bamboo waits. The glass waits. Everyone in this room is good at waiting, except your eyebrows, which lift every time something makes a tiny sound. A hiss, a sigh, a click. You are a human meerkat now. He holds his ear near the seam. He listens. He feels for a leak with the back of his hand. He sets a small mirror near a joint and watches for fog. No fog. Good. He takes a thin feather, the same one he used on the scale, and waves it along the seam. If the feather quivers, air is escaping. It rests. All tight. Your shoulders drop. The pot starts to talk. A slow, round sound. Not a roar. More like a pot purring. The perfumer smiles. Low, he says. Always low. He lifts one finger. If too hot, scent runs. He places a second dung cake. He removes a chip. He adjusts with the calm of a monk and the flair of a street juggler. The fire is like a cat. Too much fuss and it sulks. Too little and it judges you from across the room. You obey the cat. First drop. The glass receiver blinks. A bead forms. It lets go. It falls. Plink. The sound is small and perfect. A long pause. Another bead. Plink. You love that you can hear it. You match your breathing to that slow tick. You are a metronome that smells like a garden. The men sit near the fire. The boy fans coals with a palm leaf. Someone tells a story about a pot that boiled too hard and chased 3 people out of a room with a cloud of rose steam. You lock your face. You will not cause a floral quake today. Your sneeze is on probation. The perfumer's hand lands on the copper cap. He reads the heat with his palm. He checks the bamboo with a fingertip. He looks at the drip rate and nods. 1 drop. Then wait. Then 1 more. He says a thing you will remember. Steam carries greed. The oil in the glass is the judge. It only takes what it loves. He tells you a plain fact while you watch the beads fall. In the days of the Mughals, the court kept a perfume workshop, a karkhana. It is noted in the excellent record of the court's world. The book lists makers by craft. Perfumers were there, with their tools and pay. The work had status. It has it still. You picture tall walls, cool shade, and this same slow drip. He leans in and adds a small trick. He drops a tame clink into the water trough. A silver coin. It sits near the glass belly, bright as a fish. For luck, he says. Some say it keeps the water sweet. He shrugs. Quirky, sure. But he has done this since he was young. He will not stop now. You are not about to argue with a lucky coin and a whole room. A finger's width fills the receiver. He eases it out and slides in a fresh one. He moves like a waiter who has never spilled tea. He saves the rose water from the first receiver. He will feed it back to the next run. It helps pull more scent from the pot. He sets the full glass aside and lets the oil settle again at the bottom. It looks like a golden eye, watching. Your nose picks up a change. The first drops smelled green and sharp. Now the drops smell rounder, deeper. The heart arrives. He gives a tiny nod. You did not imagine that. He felt it too. He warms his hands over the fire. He tells you that makers listen for this change all day. They swap glasses at the right time. They keep only the best part for the attar. The rest becomes rose water for sprays and sweets. Waste is not welcome here. He points at the bamboo. Old tool, he says. Always good. Historians still argue whether the bhapka shape and this entire bamboo bridge originated with Central Asian craftsmen in the early Mughal days, or evolved from older Indian stills used for herbs and rose water. He does not mind the debate. He is too busy making the thing. You like both stories, the road story and the root story. The boy brings a bucket of fresh water. He swaps the warm water around the glass with cool water from the well. The drops speed up for a moment, then settle. He repeats that many times. Quick hands, calm eyes, small tasks, done right. That is the rhythm of this craft. You ask how long it will take. He says, all day, maybe more. Petals will be fed again. Water will be topped up. Fire will be coaxed like a fussy bird. You will sit, and you will stand, and you will sit again. You will learn patience by the inch. You will count plinks in your sleep later on brand. The room holds more scents now. A soft hint of clay, a trace of smoke, a ghost of last year's jasmine from a shelf you did not notice before. You wonder what the copper remembers. You wonder if pots dream. If they do, this one dreams in gardens. He wipes a finger along the clay seam, still tight. He writes a line in the ledger. Time, temperature in simple words. Warm, cool, just right. He is not chasing a lab number. He is teaching his hands to notice. That is the lab here. You watch and think, this is the only kitchen where you don't taste the soup. You sniff and stare and try to look wise. He gives you the bamboo to hold for a second. It hums faintly. You grin. It is a secret tunnel for steam. A whisper road. You hand it back before you do anything clumsy like breathing too hard near the seam. You are learning. Another plink. The oil lens in the glass glows a touch wider. The perfumer smiles, slow and sure. He does not clap. He does not say, good job. He moves a coal. He adjusts the cloth on the glass. He nods at you to sit and listen. So you do. You sit cross-legged on the cool floor. You let the sound of the drops walk you deeper into the room, deeper into the work, deeper into the easiest part of patience, which is just staying. He turns the whole glass in the water trough. The oil at the bottom gleams. Thick, gold, calm. He tips a hair-thin rod into it and lifts out a tiny drop. He taps that drop on your wrist. It spreads like warm butter. Your skin says thank you in slow motion. You don't say wow out loud, but your eyes do. The scent is soft at first. Cream, wood, a hint of warm milk. Then it deepens. It feels smooth, like a quiet room, like a clean book page. The rose you smelled before leans into it. It stops fluttering and starts to sing. This is what the bass does. It holds the fast notes. It lets them last. It says, don't rush. We have time. He holds up a small bottle wrapped in cloth. Old oil, he says. He unknots the wrap. The glass is dark. The oil moves slowly, like honey in winter. He tilts it. One heavy tear climbs the neck and thinks hard about jumping. It takes its time. You grin. You wish your emails moved this slowly. He laughs. He opens it and waves his mouth once. You smell a deep, smooth wood and a little spice. It feels clean but rich. No sharp edges. No bark. Just heart. He touches a dot on your other wrist. The scent sits close. It does not shout. It is the friend who does not need to talk to be heard. He tells you the tree. Chandan. You picture low hills and red soil. Roots that seek friends. This tree is a polite thief. It leans on other plants for food. It takes a little and gives back shade. The best oil comes from the heartwood. That heart needs years to grow. Decades. You nod. This makes sense. The soft smell of time requires time. He gives you a plain fact while the pot behind you hums. People in this land have used sandalwood paste for worship and cool skin for a long, long time. It is no secret. Temples keep blocks of it. Priests rub it with water on the stone and mark the brow. Summer crowds line up, and the smell rides the air like a soft song. That is steady history. No debate there. You watch him weigh the old oil. He uses the same brass beam, the same rattī seeds you met. He sets out a small cup. He adds 1 drop. He waits for the beam. He adds half a drop more. Half a drop. Yes. He touches the rod and lets the oil kiss it. Then he draws back. The kiss lands. The beam nods by a hair. You are impressed and a little scared. If you tried that at home, you would oil your kitchen. He keeps the bottle close to his body. He sets it on a cloth, not wood. He shields it with his palm when someone walks past, not just for show. Sandalwood can drink air. It can smudge on fingers. He handles it like medicine. He even labels the bottle like medicine. Name, date, age, notes. He has kept this one for 10 summers. The ink on the label has faded. The oil has not. Old oil calms blends, he says. It softens sharp notes. It helps scent hold on skin. He points to your wrist. The rose there feels round now. Less high, more whole. It sits in the sandalwood like a candle in a cup. Safe, steady. You think of the scales again. Numbers tame petals. Sandalwood tames time. He tells you a story from the bazaar. Once, a bride's mother wanted to smell rich at noon in June. The perfumer smiled and added 2 extra drops of aged sandalwood to her blend. The scent did not melt. It stayed. The mother danced. No one fainted. Success. You try to picture 2 extra drops. Your wallet makes a tiny scream. You pat it. Hush. He shows you chips of wood in a cloth bag. Pale gold. Fine lines in the grain. He touches one to a hot coal for a second and lifts it. A curl of sweet smoke rises. Not dark smoke. Milk soft. He does not fill the room. He lets the smoke fade. He says some makers sent their clothes chests with chips like this. It keeps out bugs. It keeps in good dreams. That feels like a quirky home trick, and you add it to your list. A boy brings a tray with 2 empty vials. The perfumer fills one with fresh sandalwood oil. He mixes the second with a whisper of old oil. He draws the measure with a tiny glass pipette. He counts the breaths between drops. The drops fall more slowly when the oil is old. They drag time with them. He does not rush. Rushing makes the hand shake. Shakes make spills. Spills make tears. He wipes the neck with a strip. He seals the vials with cork. He dips each cork in warm wax. He presses his ring on top. It leaves a small moon mark. He writes neat letters on a slip and tucks it into the wrap. He will know later which one is which at a glance. You note the habit. Your own kitchen could use this kind of order. Your spices are in the jar that looks like the other jar. He taps the table. Aged oil is different, he says. It opens slowly. It lasts long. He taps the ledger. We ration. A drop can change the whole blend. Too much and you flatten the flowers. Too little and they flutter away. He treats each drop like a tiny doctor. It meets a patient. It checks the pulse. It prescribes quiet. He shares a small market fact with you. In some times and places, sandalwood from the south, especially around Mysore, was known as the acceptable kind. Traders prized it. Kings taxed it. Later, even governments took charge of trees to protect and profit from them. You nod. Big scent brings big rules. Today, you hold the bottle like it is a bird. He leans back and tosses in a fun rumor. Some say makers in the past would bury sealed oil pots in the ground for a season. The earth held the heat steady. The oil rested. When they dug it up, it felt deeper. He shrugs. He has not buried his bottles. The well and the thick walls do fine. But he likes the idea. It sounds like a secret garden trick. Your nose catches a clean, pale sweetness now. Not from the pot. From the old oil on your wrist. It is more than wood. It is skin warm and smooth. It reminds you of fresh paper and warm hands. You smile. Your pinky lifts without asking, like it thinks it is royalty. You let it. Tiny drama is free. You ask when to pick sandalwood for the receiver. He says always fresh oil, but age helps. Young oil is bright and a bit lemony. Old oil is cream. He blends both sometimes. He listens to the weather too. Heat needs more base. Cold needs less. Skin does strange math. He adjusts. He lifts an eyebrow. And names, he says. Names play games. People say Mysore to mean the best. Historians still argue whether that word in old notes meant only that exact region, or if it became a trade tag for any delicate, southern sandal. He shrugs again. I chase smell, he says. Labels can run around by themselves. The fire ticks. The bamboo hums. The glass belly plinks. You sit with both wrists lifted. One holds the new oil. One has the old. You smell both. You feel the room soften around you. It is like the floor drops a cushion under your bones. You do not fight it. The perfumer closes the old bottle and ties the cloth. He sets it on the high shelf. He shows you a minor key around his neck. It fits a wooden box under the table. That box holds a few more old friends. A little musk paste, a thread of saffron. These are for careful days. For now, it is sandalwood's show. He pours tea again. He flicks a single drop of sandalwood into the pot. You wait for your tongue to weep. It does not. It just feels warm and smooth. He laughs at your face. No, we do not drink from the bottle, he says. We are not that rich. You nod and sip. Your shoulders slide down another inch. You glance at the beam. It rests. The seeds sleep in their box. But you see them anyway, like a small ghost of numbers. The seed math lives under each drop. It keeps this soft world honest. You rub your wrists together once. The scents meet. They walk out of the room and into some slow place in your head. You may live there now. It is very comfortable. It smells like wood and light and a room with no rush. He slides a fresh glass belly into the water trough and nods at you to watch. The first receiver is set aside to settle. The oil sinks. The rose water swims above it, clear and shy. The fire keeps a low, steady purr. You pay on the floor. Knees up, chin on your hands. You stare like this is your favorite slow movie. It is. You listen for the rhythm. One bead forms. It hangs. It thinks. Then, plink, a soft drop lands. You match your breath to it. In, plink, out, plink. If patience were a gym, you are lifting one drop at a time. Your eyebrows have two speeds now, gentle and gentler. He leans over the copper lid. He barely touches it with the back of his hand. He reads the heat like a sailor reads wind on his cheek. He looks at the flame. He moves one cake of fuel a finger's width. He lets the cat fire be pleased. You grin. You are now fluent in cat. The glass fogs, then clears. The feather from the scale makes a new cameo. He runs it along the clay seam. Still, no leak. He ties a thin thread to the bamboo tube. It quivers like a spider line in a draft. Too wild means too hot, he says. Today it trembles just a little. Perfect. A tiny, quirky wind sock for steam. You file that trick away. Your nose finds layers in the room. The first drops carry a hint of green, like a leaf torn in half. Then a soft bread note. Then a clean sugar. You whisper, now. He nods. He knows the heart is arriving. He slides the current receiver out and eases in a fresh one. No splash, no rush. He moves like a person who carries full teacups through a crowded bus and never apologizes. He sets the warm glass down in the bath. He waits for the oil to show again at the bottom, like a gold moon rising. He labels the neck with a tiny mark. A dot. A line. A dot and a line. His system looks simple. It is not. He will know later which part of the day he lived in each glass. He tells you a small, steady fact while he works. In the Emperor Jahangir's own book, he wrote of roses, gardens, and the love of perfume at court. He praised the beauty and the scent. That is in the record, not just in gossip. You nod. The past feels close in this warm room, close enough to fog the glass. You lean in. The bamboo hums like a quiet flute. The water in the trough laps like a small lake. The drop count time for you. If you had to choose between counting sheep and counting plinks, You would pick plinks unless the sheep wore perfume. Then it's a tie. He shows you how the drip should look. Slow. Even. Like walking, he says. Not running. If the drops rush, the rose smells thin. If they crawl, the pot gets tired. He has a face for each problem. He does a tiny scowl. That is too hot. He does a small yawn. That is too cold. You try the faces back at him. He laughs. The boy by the fire almost laughs the coals out. A new sack of petals waits. He will feed the pot again soon. He lifts the lid just a hair. He breathes in and out. He does not sneeze. Your sneeze is still on probation. He tips in more cool water. He tips in fresh petals. He seals the seam with new clay. Quick hands. Soft touch. He reads the sound of the pot, the feel of the lid, the way steam beads along the bamboo. He reads like a sailor reading waves and sky. You see it. It is a skill. It is also love. He whispers more craft. The early part is bright. The middle is whole. The last is heavy. He keeps the middle for Attar. He saves the early and late as rose water. Nothing goes to waste. The scales will weigh the oil later. The ledger will hold the numbers. The nose will have the story. He pours a little cool, healthy water around the receiver. The drops speed for a breath, then settle. He rotates the glass every so often. He does not shake it. He lets the oil slide and breathe. He watches the meniscus, a new fancy word in your head. Then you cut the fancy. You call it the gold line between wood and water. That works fine. He leans close and gives a whisper of rumor. Some makers count drops in sets of 108, like beads on a prayer string. They swap receivers at the count. He does not. He listens to the smell. Still, he smiles at the counting. It keeps hands busy. It makes the room calm. A quirky habit that harms no one and helps the mind is a good habit. Your legs fall asleep. Your nose does not. It wakes up more. It hears things the eyes missed. A tiny change in steam. A soft, nutty note that says enough heat. A bare sour line at the very end that says stop now. You are shocked that the nose can hear. It can. One sense borrows from another here. They are all cousins. He lifts one shoulder. People fight over old rules, he says. Always. Historians still debate whether Mughal makers consistently used sandalwood oil as the base or if other oils were used when sandalwood trees were scarce. Some old notes hint at sesame or apricot oil in tight times. Others swear only sandalwood was worthy. He shrugs. Today, he says, tapping the glass, this is sandalwood. And it is singing. You keep count for a while. You try to hit one drop every 2 slow heartbeats. You get close. You feel proud, like you just invented time. Of course, time was fine before you. Still, the game helps. The room leans into the rhythm. Even the lamp knows the beat. He tells a quick tale of a still that cracked during a summer run. Clay dried too fast. A hairline split hissed like a snake. The maker plastered it with wet flour paste and a strip of cotton. It held. He finished the batch. The room smelled like bread and roses. It was both a crisis and a snack. You laugh more than you should. Blame the steam. You ask about long runs. He nods. Some runs last a day and a night. Some last 3. In Kannauj, old houses keep the fire alive for days when making big batches. People trade shifts. The town hums. It is a simple fact you can almost hear now. You imagine lanes at midnight, still and sweet. You ease another glass in place as he swaps. You feel the weight of it. You learn the tilt of your wrist that does not wake the water too much. You carry the warm receiver like a bowl of moonlight. You set it down. You do not drop it. Your heart cheers, very quietly. You are becoming a pro at not making noise. He checks a little strip he left near the bamboo. It has caught a few stray drops. He smells it. He smiles. Heart, he says. You see it too. The rose is round, not green. It sits on sandalwood like a note on a string. Clear. Held. Right. The boy changes the cloth on the glass. Cool on the outside. Warm within. The coin in the trough winks at you. Luck holds. You think about the tiny coin trick and the feather and the thread. Old tools, small cues. No machines. Just people and pots and practice. He writes a line in the ledger. He marks the time with a dot. He marks the feel with a word. Calm. He does not need more. He can read this page a year from now and here today. He can smell it too. Pages here are almost alive. The drops slow as the petal load wanes. He lets them fade. He does not squeeze the last breath too hard. He is kind even to a pot. He lifts the lid and stirs the petals once with a stick, just enough to thank them. He says thank you out loud, very softly. You say it too. The room agrees. The fire shrinks. The glass rests. The oil in the bellies gleams. The air feels thick and gentle. You rub your thumb against your finger and feel a thin slip of oil. It smells like a garden that learned to whisper. You like that very much. You sit back and let the hum wrap you. Drops fade. The lamp's flame draws a small, steady oval on the wall. Your job now is easy. You stay. You watch. You breathe the slow, careful work of a whole day. You feel the kind of tired that tastes like tea and warm bread and a bed you will not reach for a while. That is fine. You are riding the plinks. He sets 3 small cups on the table. He writes tiny marks on each with a bit of charcoal. 1 is for shamama. 1 is for gulab. 1 is for cause. 3 moods. 3 seasons. 3 ways of saying hello to a wrist. You know gulab now, rose and calm wood. The bottle blinks at you like an old friend. Cause comes next. He opens a vial and waves it. Cool, green, rooty air slips out. It smells like shade, like the vetiver fans you met in your head earlier. The scent drops your body temperature by 1 polite degree. Your pulse points start a tiny fan club. He opens a jar for shamama. The air warms. Spice, wood, a little smoke, a small spark of saffron. It smells like winter clothes taken out of a trunk. It smells like a long story told near a brazier. Your shoulders want a shawl just from the smell. If perfumes were instruments, shamama would be a cello. Deep, steady, not the DJ. He taps the scale awake. Rattī seeds hop into service. The beam nods at each drop. Sandalwood stands ready in a 4th cup. He builds the blends like a cook making 3 soups from 1 stock. He starts with the base, then adds voice. For the court blend, he points to shamama. Winter, he says. He adds sandalwood first. 1 drop of shamama falls in, then another. He touches a breath of oud from that dark pouch. Barely there, a hair of saffron. He waits. He swirls. He watches the beam come back to level like a calm lake. You lean in. It smells like a warm evening in a tent with thick rugs and slow talk. He smiles. Durbar, he says. Court. He tells you a simple fact while your wrist enjoys the ride. In Mughal halls, rose water was sprinkled from pretty bottles at feasts and greetings. People call those sprinkle flasks gulab. Perfume was part of the welcome. It was also a gift. Robes and scent went together. That's in the record. Not just chat. You nod. This blend feels like that kind of room. Now he builds the wedding gulab. He makes the rose brighter. He keeps the base light. He dips the rod in the rose attar you helped coax all day. 1, 2, 3 slim drops into sandalwood. He smooths the high with a single tear of vetiver. Just a hush of green. He swirls. He tests. The scent stands up straight and smiles. It is joyful, but not loud. He labels it. Spring, he says, for brides and garlands. You imagine a shower of petals, a soft drum, and a lot of aunties with opinions. He lifts the 3rd cup for the street and the heat. Cause. He goes heavy on vetiver. He leans on sandalwood enough to hold it. He adds 1/2 drop of rose so the green does not feel too stern. He sniffs and nods. Your nose says well water, cool shade, and nap. This one is for noon. 4 crowded lanes. For a neck that needs help under a hot sun. He folds 3 strips and dabs each. He writes 1 dot, 2 dots, 3 on the ends. He hands them to you. You wait a moment to let them open. He has trained you well. No rushing. You smell the court first. Warm, gold, long, then the wedding. Bright, pink, happy, then the street. Green, calm, fresh. Each one does its own job. You grin. This is scent math that feels like music. He shows you a quirky shop habit. He keeps a mother vial, a tiny old bottle with a few drops of many past batches. He never sells it. He adds a single dot from today into it. He says it carries a thread of memory. He can touch a pin of it into a new blend when a batch feels flat, like sourdough but for smell. You love this. You also love that he calls it nanny, grandma. He lays out boxes for each blend. The quart bottles get silver caps and wax seals with his ring. The wedding set gets ribbon and rose petals pressed flat under the twine. The bazaar vials get plain corks and a paper wrap. Small glass, big heart. He tucks a tiny pinch of cotton in each neck to keep the oil from bouncing in the heat. He holds the stopper waxed clean. Care shows. He tells you one more story, soft as the lamp. At spring festivals, even kings joined in color play. Records speak of scented water and bright powder. People call it many names. But the scent part? Always there. The skin glowed with a scent of rose and vetiver. The air was happy and pink. You can almost hear laughter in this room now. You ask when shamama first walked into a bottle. He shrugs. Old, he says, smiling. Historians still debate whether shamama emerged during the late Mughal period or took its proper form in the 1800s in Kannauj. The recipe list reads like a pantry and a poem. Spikenard, costus, saffron, clove, oak moss, oud, long simmer, long rest. He shows you a page with only a few marks. No names. No amounts. The recipe is a tune you learn by playing. A boy brings in a small brass frame with glass vials lined like tiny soldiers. These go to the lane. He will call out the day's blends in a sing-song. He dips a twig and taps a dot on a wrist, then another, and moves on. You picture the faces. A shop girl. A guard. A grandmother with strong opinions. All of them smile and smell their own hands for the next hour. You have done that too. No shame. It is human. He tucks 2 secret notes into the quart set. One is a single thread of saffron pressed into the wax. In this town, that is his mark. The other is a breath of shamama that only shows in the last hour on the skin. You cannot smell it in the vial. You can smell it after dinner. That is smart. That is how you teach a memory to come late and stay long. He leans back and folds his arms. Seasons matter, he says. Heat likes green. Cold likes spice. Rain likes earth. He nods at the door. You remember the first time you smelled miti, the monsoon in a bottle. It would fit in this trio too, on days when clouds crush the town and every roof sings. He writes prices in the ledger. The quart set costs at a clean number that makes your wallet do a small, silent scream again. The wedding gulab is kinder. The streetcars is kindest. He says that a few coins still buy a week's worth of scent. You nod. That feels right. Not every joy needs a crown. He slides a little gulabdi from a shelf. Crystal. Long neck. It pours rose water in a thin thread. He tips some over your fingers. You rub your palms and breathe. He says ladies used to carry these at court like fans. The bend of the wrist mattered. The flow made a shape in the air. It is a simple fact dressed in silk. He drops his voice. One more trick, he says. He warms the shamama vial between his hands for 10 slow counts. He hands it to you. The scent opens wider at once. Heat wakes the heart. Try this at home, but not in a microwave. He raises an eyebrow. You laugh. Your appliances are safe. You ask if he ever blends for letters. He smiles. He dabs a line of gulab on a ribbon and ties it around a tiny scroll. When you open, you remember, he says. He also hints that some lovers pressed a dot on the corner of a note and sealed it with wax. Not too much. Just enough to make a sigh. He packs the vials into a wooden case lined with cotton. He slips in a smooth stone, cool from the well, to keep the heat down on the walk. He slides the case shut. He ties it with twine. His ring mark presses the knot. You admire the neat finish. A good blend dresses well. He wipes the table. He sets the charcoal nub back in a dish. He lets out a long breath. You hear the lane again. A hawker calls. A bell rings. The day wants in. You look at your wrists. Winter and spring and shade stand side by side. You lift them and close your eyes. You are in 3 rooms at once. They all feel safe. You step out with the case under your arm. The lane is warm and bright. The sky stretches thin and gray at the edges. A shy wind lifts dust and sets it down again. Your nose looks up like a dog that knows a storm before the clouds do. Your hair tries to be a weather app. It frizzes. It is correct. You and the perfumer take a quiet turn and walk toward a walled garden. The gate rises plain and tall. A guard nods. Inside, the path splits into 4. Water runs in narrow channels along the lines, clear as glass and soft as thread. The beds are square and neat. Trees stand like kind soldiers. You know this shape now. A charbagh, 4 parts, crossed by water and shade. That is how the Mughals made so many gardens. It came from Persian ideas and grew in this soil. You slow your steps. The place asks for small feet. The air shifts. Jasmine peeks from a hedge. Marigolds smile at the edges. A lime tree flicks a leaf at you, bright and fresh. Fountains blink on, one by one. The spray lifts and falls like it is breathing. You think of the court. Records say rose water was once poured from fancy flasks at feasts. It would have felt at home here. You half expect a hand to tilt a gulab over a pool. Only a bee does that today, and the bee has bad aim. You move to a stone slope where water slips in a thin sheet. The stone is cut with rows of waves. The water schemes and laughs. It makes a sound like silk rubbed between fingers. The perfumer taps the edge. He listens to the notes. Cool, he says. That is all. The place does the talking. A cloud rolls over the sun. The light goes soft. The first drop hits a dry path, then another, then a soft rush. The smell rises so fast you almost miss it. Earth wakes. Dust turns sweet. Stone breathes out a warm bread note. The air becomes a hug from the ground. The monsoon says hello. You say it back, but only in your head. Your mouth is busy smiling. You remember the first time you smelled that clay oil in the shop. Mitti. Rain on warm ground. Here is the real thing. Here is the note it copies. You close your eyes and let it land. It slides down your back like cool tea. It walks up your spine and sits behind your eyes. It feels like home you didn't know you missed. The perfumer takes a tiny vial from his pocket. He opens it and touches one dot on the back of your hand. The scent blooms. It matches the air. It is almost perfect. Almost. The sky adds thunder in the far distance. The vial adds sandalwood to the small space of your skin. The two shake hands. You breathe through your nose like you are tasting soup. You are cloud soup with a spice of road. He tells you how it is made, accurate and straightforward. Potters bake fresh clay until it turns red and is ready. They crush it. They load the baked earth into the copper pot. They add water. They run the same bamboo road you watched with Rose. The steam picks up the soul of dust and brick. It rides into sandalwood oil in the glass belly. The smell it makes is this moment in a bottle. He smiles at your face. He knows you are sold. He offers a quirky aside. Some makers swear the best clay is from the riverbank near Kannauj, where the sun bakes it long. Others like shards of new teacups, the little earthen ones. Fresh clay sings, they say. He shrugs. His mitts work fine with clean baked earth and care. Still, he keeps a box of tiny broken cups. He calls them his rain seeds. You love that. You want to plant one in your pocket. He points at the path. Wet stone changes scent, he says. So does hot stone. He asks you to touch the marble edge. It is cool. Your skin smells cleaner there. Now feel the red sandstone step. Warm. The mitti gets rounder. You learn another rule. Weather and rock talk to your nose. Blends must listen. You walk under a cypress. The rain falls soft as rice. The pool moves in rings. A duck the color of toast schemes by like a quiet boat. You almost drink like a very polite flamingo. You do not. You settle for smelling your hands. Good choice. He gives you a plain fact while the storm writes love letters to the garden. Humayun's tomb in Delhi sits in a charbagh. It was one of the first big garden tombs here. The water lines there once framed shade and fruit trees. The idea lived on in many places. You nod. This shape feels old and wise. It makes walking feel like prayer, even if your prayers today are mainly for dry socks. He adds a quiet debate for your pocket. Historians still argue whether these gardens copied the idea of a perfect four rivers paradise, or if they worked first as clever farms for fruit and shade around grand homes. It was likely both, in different hands, at other times. He looks at you and tilts his head. You can hold two truths. You do it all the time. The rain slows to a delicate lace. The paths shine. The lime tree throws you a tiny green spark. You catch it with your nose. He opens the mitty vial again. He warms it between his palms. He lets you smell the change. The heated oil goes deeper. It grabs a memory. It does not ask permission. You see a porch. You see a steel cup by a window. You hear a cousin laugh. You did not order this scene. It arrived. Scent does that. It keeps a spare key to your past. He whispers another small fact. After the first rain, some shops sell mittens fast. People buy it to sleep, to think, to carry the storm into the hot months. It is oil. It does not brag. It makes an old room feel clean. It makes a new city feel safe. You would put it on a pillow. You would put it on a page in a book. You would put it on a scarf and forget. And then months later, you would find the scarf, and the day would be saved. He lets you in on one more odd rumor. Some say a few makers start their season when the frogs begin to sing. Time to bake clay, they say. It's a frog clock. He laughs. He does watch the sky and the soil. He trusts both more than a calendar. You glance at the pool. A frog blinks at you like a small foreman. The path bends. A china tree holds a bench in its shade. The stone is damp and friendly. You sit. He put 2 dots of mitty at the base of your neck and 1 small dot of vetiver on your wrist. The earth and the green meet. The rain gives a cheer. Your shoulders let go of whatever they were holding. You become exactly 1 bench and 1 breath. You think back to the seed weights, the beam, the feather, the coin in the trough. Old tools. Small signs. Here, the signs are clouds, stones, and leaves. The math is weather and time. The ledger line today would be a single word: rain. The mother vial in his pocket gets 1 tiny dot of mitty later. Nanny will be proud. A peacock screams from a wall because peacocks are drama. You do not judge. You are also dramatic when you see cake. The bird shakes its tail and turns the garden into glitter. Then it goes back to being a bird with loud opinions. You smile. You breathe. You smell the ground as it smiles back. He rises. He looks at the sky. He listens like he listened to the pot. The worst of the storm has passed. The paths are safe. He nods to the gate. Work waits in the lane. Blends for rain. Blends for the sun that will follow. He hands you the mitty vial. You close your fingers around it. It feels warm. It feels like a story you can open with your nose. You step out of the garden and back into the street. The roofs drip. The dogs look clean for once. The air is a long, low chord. Your steps keep time with it. You tuck the vial in your pocket. It sits next to the rattī seed he gave you at dawn. Earth and number. Rain and count. You like that pair. It feels like a promise that memory can be measured, but also kept wild. You tuck the mitty vial next to the rattī seed. Pocket weather meets pocket math. The lane leans into noon. Heat climbs. You and the perfumer step toward the road that carries half the world past your door. Trees line the old route. Dust lifts in slow waves. A bullock cart groans by with sacks of grain and a family of chickens who have strong opinions. You walk next to the case of vials. The wood is warm under your hand. The hinges sing a small metal song. A mile ahead, a caravan pauses at a serai. A roadside inn. Thick walls. A well. A yard. Rooms are like simple cells. A clerk sits with a ledger and a face that loves numbers. He weighs loads. He counts beasts. He asks what rides in each crate. The perfumer opens his case. The clerk leans in, and his eyes go soft for a second. Even-number folk breathe deeper when Rose says hello. You sit on the charpoy. Your spine writes a short letter to HR about roads. You give it tea instead. Peace talks succeed. You hear a fact that the road repeats all day. A ruler named Sher Shah Suri made this road strong in the 1500s. He built inns like this, planted trees, and set markers. Later, the Mughals kept it up. They moved armies, silk, and innovative ideas along it. Smell too. Attar learned the road by heart. A camel blinks at you with profound wisdom. It chews. It judges. It is the professor of carrying. A porter loads your case next to spices and cloth. He chalks a charm on the wood. Handle me like a bride, he writes in a crooked rhyme, a quirky habit. But boxes with poems survive more, or so he swears. The road brings tax gates. A man at the arch taps a tablet and asks for a coin. Octroi, they call it, a gate tax. The perfumer counts. He does not sigh. He pays. The clerk presses a small stamp on the paper and marks the case with a dot. You watch the dot dry in the sun. Your wallet does one quiet whimper in sympathy. You roll on. Fields slip by. Tamarind shade comes and goes. A serai keeper tells a fairy tale. Boats carry attar from a port to a far gulf where dates grow. From the port of Surat, perfumes sailed with pepper and cloth. That was a Mughal port with a big, busy mouth. Ships went west with gifts for courts and buyers you would never meet. The keeper grins. Scent has a passport, he says. You nod. Your nostrils stamp it every hour. You pass a city with high gates. Lucknow? Agra? The names blur like heat on stone. In each town, a bazaar. A line of attar shops. Glass blinks, corks nod. Every maker swears his rose is the moon and yours is a potato. It is fine. Markets are a theater. The real check sits on a scale and on skin. The perfumer stops at a guild hall, a small room, cool floor, low talk. On the wall hangs a list of rules in plain words. Wayfare, keep glass clean. Do not sell yesterday as today. Do not spill secrets for a coin. A bench of elders settles disputes. A panchayat. They judge with tea and time. They love peace and hate drama. The world could use more rooms like this. A man in a white cap checks your weights. He rolls the rattī seed in his palm and smiles. He stamps a slip with a mark that shows you are suitable for the season. You feel fresh as laundry. The perfumer shows them the ring mark on his wax and the thin saffron thread. That is his sign. They nod. They know it. He tells you in a whisper what a moderator would say out loud. Recipes travel faster than credit. A blend born in one town might be sold in another with a new name and a long story. The story may forget the hands that taught the mix. That is old news. But it still pinches. You think of the nanny bottle in his pocket. It holds memory even when a label lies. You learn shop etiquette next. Ask before you touch. Let the maker dab a dot. Do not rub hard. It bruises the scent. Wave the strip. Do not bury your nose. Give the oil time. Step outside the shop for fresh air. Come back. Smell again. Your sneeze, by the way, is still on probation. If you must, aim at the floor. Floral earthquakes are destructive for business. He tells you another simple rule. The first sale of the day is a bonus. Lucky. The shop might offer a sweet price to start the day. If you are that first buyer, do not press too hard. Leave a little luck on the table. It will come back to you. Your grandmother would approve. Nanny always does. You pass a shrine where a man pours rose water on a stone. The air glows for a moment. In Sufi places, they pour at the tomb. They scent the cloth. They welcome the crowd. You step back and breathe. It feels kind. It feels right. You tuck that into the part of your chest where soft things live. The perfumer reminds you of courts, too. A robe of honor once came with a vial. A gift of scent and silk. It meant favor. It meant, you are seen. That is a recorded thing. A kilat with perfume walked people into power and into rooms bright with lamps. A man in the lane calls out for a festival. Color, sweets, and water. He sells small glass flasks that pour a thin thread, just like the gulab you held. People will splash and laugh and smell like a garden by noon. The city will need a bath and a nap. So will you. You ask about officials. Who kept markets honest? He taps your memory. The mutasib, a market watcher, checked weights and bad blends in some cities. He could find cheats. He could close stalls. He had a formidable job and likely had no fans at parties. But he kept the beam straight. You like him. He adds a debate like a spice. Historians still argue whether Kannauja's attar guilds, the way they sit today, came straight from Mughal karkhanas and bazaar councils, or were shaped later under the Nawabs of Awadh when that city rose. Threads cross. Records are thin. He shrugs. We keep the work either way, he says. You agree. The nose does not care who stamped the first rule if the drop is good. You follow the case to a portico where a scribe writes orders. He twists the paper and dabs a dot of gulab on the knot of string. He is not trying to be fancy. He is being clear. The scent marks the bundle for a particular home, a particular room, a certain shelf. When it arrives, the smell will prove the path was straight. You like that kind of honest tag. A boy races by with a perfume fan made of vetiver roots. He dips it in the well and hangs it in a doorway. The wind moves through. The shop sighs coolly. It is the same clever plant trick you met before. The bazaar always remembers the good hacks. At dusk, you sit in a mosque courtyard. Men pass a tiny bottle, a dot on a wrist. A beard glows warm with sandalwood. Soft talk, slow steps. You see the same in a temple lane later. A dot for a deity. A line on a brow. Good smell is good manners in both places. That truth does not need a vote. The road rewinds to your own lane. The case is lighter now. Trades were made. Papers stamped. Tea drunk. You feel full and tired in a good way. Dust coats your ankles. Rose sits on your wrists. Cars cools the back of your neck. Shamama waits in the case like a small sun. You smile at the shop door. The bell hums. The beam on the table stills you the way a lake stills a bird. The feather sleeps. The coin in the trough dreams under the water skin. The ledger waits for one more line. You sit and breathe. The day worked. The rules held. The routes did their old job. Your pocket holds a seed and a story. Both will travel on. The ledger takes one last line. The ink dries. The bell at the door sighs. Night leans in with cool breath and calm pockets. You sit on the floor and smell your wrists. Rose rides the left. Sandalwood holds the right. Cars sits at the back of your neck like a tiny palm leaf fan. You feel ready for the road ahead of the craft, and also prepared for bed. Both can be true. He pours tea, then points at a map on the wall. He taps one dot. Kannauj. Home, he says. The town where this slow art continues to thrive. People call it the perfume capital of India. Lanes here still wake at dawn to load petals. Still purr. The river still carries a breeze through the workshops. Trucks and trains carry boxes now. But the scent? It walks on the same old legs. He pulls a stainless tube from a shelf. It shines. Some use this, he says. Cooler. Easier to clean. He taps the old copper pot with love. Some keep this. 2 paths. Same goal. A clean scent in the glass. New tools help with heat and water. Old hands still read the drop and the breath. You like that you can update a kitchen without erasing the recipe. He tells you a plain fact. In the late 1800s, new lab-made scents arrived. Cheap, strong. They changed perfume everywhere. Some shops here mixed them in to make prices kind. Some stuck to pots, petals, and sandalwood only. Both kinds still live on this street. If you ask, the good shops will tell you what sits in the bottle, sandalwood base or something else. Truth smells best. He shows you 2 labels. One says Attar. The other says compound. In daily speech, people toss the words around. But in this room, Attar means drops caught in sandalwood. Compound means a blend in a plain carrier that smells close but behaves differently on skin. He shrugs. He sells both. He writes clear names. He sleeps well. You hold a small bottle of sandalwood. He keeps it like a treasure because trees are fewer now. Rules protect them. Prices rise. Makers ration drops like you saw today. Some swap in other woods from far lands when they must. The smell shifts a bit. The craft bends, not breaks. You nod. Flex is how old things live. He laughs and hands you a tiny bulb. A real light bulb. A trick, he says. Dab a dot of attar on the cold glass. When the bulb warms, the room smells sweet. It is a quirky house habit. He warns you not to paint the whole bulb. You are not trying to make a candle with a degree. He tells you another simple thread of history. This town sent attar west from ports like Surat in Mughal days, and later under other flags. Rose rode with pepper and silk. Traders carried vials wrapped in cotton and stories. That is not a rumor. That is a plain line that crosses maps and time. You ask about training. He points at the boy by the fire. Apprentice, he says. He points at a photo of a woman holding a tray of petals. Picker and mixer. The craft is a family thing. Jobs change. Phones join the table. Orders come by message. A customer in a far city wants miti for a new bookshop. A chef wants cura for sweets. A barber wants rose for aftershave. The town says yes in small glass. You ask what keeps the old ways safe. He opens a drawer and takes out a stamped paper. It shows the town's name and the craft. It protects what the bottle is and where it comes from. You have heard of this kind of tag. It does not fix every problem, but it gives the craft a shield. He slips it back in the drawer with care. He leans on the table and tells you a funny truth. People think coffee beans reset the nose, he says. Smell your sleeve instead. He grins. Your own skin is the best reset. You sniff your sleeve. It smells like your day, which is rose, smoke, and maybe 2 jokes too many. You forgive yourself. He pulls out a notebook with sketches. New blends. New names. One for long train rides. One for good sleep. One for letters. He is not stuck in a museum. He is a maker in a town that keeps making. He posts a picture now and then. He answers a late text from a bride's aunt with calm and patience. That is a special skill. He tells you a steady fact while he writes. In court days, there were karkhanas for many crafts. Perfumers stood beside painters and cloth weavers in the record. That honor mattered then. It matters now. He nods. Then he adds a twist. Historians still debate whether this town's perfume craft has run uninterrupted from ancient times, or if it was reborn under the Mughals with new tools and names. The past is a braided rope. He does not need to pull the strands apart to do good work. A fan hums. A bike bell rings outside. You think of the coin in the trough, the feather by the scale, the rattī seed in your pocket. You think of the frog clock, the peacock drama, the goat joke, and the way your sneeze stayed loyal today. Great job, nose. 10 out of 10. Would sniff again. He packs your small set. 1 quart shamama. 1 wedding gulab. 1 street cars. He adds a tiny mitty as a gift. He writes a word on the wrap. Sleep. He smiles. 2 dots, he says. 1 at wrist. 1 on the pillow corner. Then fan on. He heard you at the start. You were the one who said yes to a soft hum. He slips in a card with a mark. Not a number. A smell. He rubs a touch of sandalwood on the edge. When you open it later, the plan will wake. You will forget the day's dust. You will remember the drops. You will hear plink in your own room. You ask him what he wants for the craft. He looks at the still. He looks at the boy. He says, enough flowers. Enough trees. Enough time. He grins. And good jokes. You promise to bring one next time. You are not sure it will be funny. He says that it is fine. The still will be amusing for you. It likes to hiss. You step to the door. The bell hums again. The lane glows softly. Dogs stretch. A kite writes a last loop in the grey. You tuck the set into your pocket. Your wrists feel warm. Your pockets smell busy. Your steps are slow. You have a simple plan. Go home. Wash dust from your face. 2 dots. Fan on. Lights low. The night will do the rest. The perfumer lifts a hand. Good night, he says. He turns to the ledger. He writes one last kind word. Calm. He closes the book. The coin sleeps in the trough. The feather dreams of scales. You open the door and walk into the hush that only good work makes. It follows you like a soft shawl. You step into a room that knows your name, and the light falls into corners you have already forgiven, and the fan turns with that soft, small song it always sings when you want to feel held without hands, and you let the door close like a page you enjoyed, not a chapter you have to fight. You wash your face and the day slips into the basin. The dust goes first, the heat goes next, and the noise breaks apart like paper boats in a big friendly puddle, and when you dry your skin, you touch one wrist and then the other, and the scent answers back the way a friend does when you whisper from the hallway. You find the tiny vial that says sleep, and you lift the cork and wait a breath, because you know it opens wider if you let it, and you touch a dot to your wrist and a dot to the pillow's edge, small as a shy firefly, easy as a yawn you don't hide, and the room changes shape most nicely. The bed gives an easy sigh as you slide under the sheet, and the fan makes the ceiling into a slow river, and your eyes follow it for a moment. Then they don't, and the garden from earlier comes back, only softer now with no peacock drama, only leaves listening, and a path that does not ask for shoes. You breathe in the rose that learned to stay, and the sandalwood that keeps the edges round, and the little hint of earth that tells your bones they are home, and your shoulders agree, and your jaw agrees, and even your thoughts decide they have earned a night off. Stay here, in the small space where the last words melt and the last sounds fold, where the lamp is low and the air is kind, and the past is a warm pocket that carries you without effort, and the morning will wait, because it always does, and you are safe, and you are held, and you are already halfway to sleep.